Our next testifier will be Mr. Geoff Rauch, speaking on Bill 79, representing himself.
Good morning, County Council. My name is Geoff Rauch, and I'm particularly grateful for Martha Willie's work on this issue. The current genetic revolution, in my opinion, is based on two very negative pillars. One is biopiracy, and biopiracy I would define as the theft of plants from the commons by patent law. These corporations are claiming ownership of our food plants. The second part of that pillar is the genetic model of industrial farming. I think we all know by now industrial farming has huge ecological consequences. That's because it substitutes stewardship for volume. Oops, the other way around. So, sorry, I lost my train of thought here. Anyway, the industrial farming has brought us a huge herbicide and pesticide holocaust. It's mostly because of the unbelievable amounts of glyphosate herbicide being sprayed on farmland. You know, the chemical companies are making millions and millions of dollars on this technology, and that's mainly because they are externalizing their costs. We are the ones, and future generations will pay for the loss of biodiversity, the loss of species, the loss of farmland, impoverishment of farmland, and of course the toxics in our air and land and water, and then the big guy in the room, which is the future, just coming out medical costs, both for animals and humans, who are yet to be uncovered here. These companies have such power, they have essentially corrupted the federal and the state regulatory agencies. The only place left to stop this tsunami coming in on us is right here at the local level, home rule. If we look over our sister islands, what we see is once these companies become established, once they take out leases and start having jobs, they're almost impossible to get rid of. The other part of that is when we look at their operations, we begin to understand everything is in secret. The secrecy starts at the time they put their experimental plots in, and it goes right up to the time when you open your box of cornflakes for breakfast. There is no accountability, there is no oversight, there is no liability, and there is no labeling. I would like to add one more no, and that's no thanks. Mahalo.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. We're now going to Waimea for two testifiers, please.
We have Edie Bickle, who represents herself, and she is in support of Bill number 79.
Good morning, Margaret. Thank you for introducing this bill. Hi, Val. Aloha, my name is Edie Bickle, and I live near Honoka'a. I am a small farmer, and I own a gift shop. First of all, I am amazed at the scientific achievements of genetic modification. At the same time, I'm horrified by the irresponsible corporations who have invaded our food supply. What was once a pleasure to grocery shop has now become a nightmare of reading labels and making life or death decisions. We have all seen the pictures of rats with giant tumors. We now know the massive bee die-off is caused by Bt toxins genetically engineered to develop within plants to kill pests. What about us? In India, the GMO cotton causes the workers to get itchy skin rashes, and the cows are dying after they are turned out to clean up the harvested fields. Also in India, the farmers are forced to buy new seeds every year because they are planting Terminator seeds, which are designed to not produce viable seeds. The suicide rate is very high among farmers. There are a lot of people in that country. Who is going to feed them? Here in Ocala, Big Island Dairy is planting GMO corn to turn into silage. Has anyone checked if there is Bt toxin in our milk supply? One only needs to take a closer look at Monsanto and the horrors they have inflicted on planet Earth. They developed Agent Orange and Roundup among other lethal pesticides. Now, because superweeds have developed, they are looking into bringing back DDT. Anyone who has read Rachel Carson's Silent Spring is shaking in their boots. Former Monsanto employees have infiltrated our government. Did you know Monsanto bought Blackwater, now known as Academy? Why would a corporation need to own a small mercenary army with strong ties to the CIA? It is time for all of us to be watchful and to educate ourselves about what is going on in the world right now. Read alternative news and make sure you and your family are prepared for any kind of disaster. Monsanto is working to patent seeds in which it will own the rights to. Read about some of the frightening lawsuits some farmers are facing. We need to replenish the wealth of our soil and teach our children the joy of growing healthy, fresh food. Perhaps the best legacy we can leave for future generations is a GMO-free island. We could be growing healthy, organic seed corn and soybeans to distribute around the world. But there will be a big demand. Just say no to GMO and Monsanto.
Thank you very much.
We now have Kelly Pomeroy. She opposes Bill 79.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I support it.
Oh, you have gave me a heart attack. We now have Kelly Pomeroy, and she supports Bill 79.
I have some minor changes I'd like to suggest to the text, but I'll submit those later. And I comment on the exemption that you mentioned, Brenda. I think the way I read it, it's only if these organisms are contained. But in any case, I like to say that I believe that genetic engineering has enormous potential, but the main thrust of the development at present seems to be focused on giving control of world agriculture to a handful of huge chemical companies. And the result has been increased use of pesticides, soil degradation, poisoned communities, intimidation and prosecution of farmers whose crops have been contaminated with transgenic DNA, the undermining of subsistence and organic farming around the world, expansion of monoculture and loss of heirloom varieties at a time of rapid climate change, an increase in the number of suicides among farmers in some parts of the world, deceit, government collusion, a lack of transparency, and greater disempowerment of citizens. And what do we get in return for increased exposure of farm workers, nearby communities, and food consumers to Roundup and the new poisons that are being and will continue to be developed and deployed in response to growing pesticide resistance in crops? How do we benefit from farmers having to buy new seed each year instead of being able to grow their own seeds? And we don't even know how safe these are, because not only do governments not do rigorous testing, not only do they take the word of the companies as to how safe their products are, but they allow the companies to prevent anyone else from doing such testing. How is this compatible with an open and democratic society? And with GMOs, we've got a Pandora's box, and once this stuff is out, there's no way to get it back. I mean, this is huge. A couple of people have mentioned effects that we don't know the effects on ourselves or our children, and if that may sound far-fetched to some, unless they've kept up with current research on epigenetics, which show that this is absolutely true. That in some cases things are passed not only to children but to grandchildren and beyond. As for containment, if humans were not, the provisions for containment and the exemptions for containment, if humans were not even able to prevent a smallpox death after the disease had been virtually eliminated from the earth and only a small amount was kept in a few secured labs for research purposes, and if 3 Mile Island was not able to keep its radioactivity to itself, then the far more lax requirements proposed in this bill are of little reassurance. And I don't mean to say that these accidents are equivalent, only that a requirement for containment is not greatly reassuring. GMOs are already present in Hawaii, and from what I've heard, creating havoc. Why not set aside the Big Island as a focus for inorganic agriculture, for organic agriculture and research, and let us be known for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Waimea. Okay, we're coming to Hilo. Merle Hayward.
I have a question. The nice lady at... Is this on?
Thank you. We got your mic back on.
The nice lady at the desk suggested that I request that I read also testimony for another person that...
Has that person turned in a slip?
Yes.
Okay. I will allow it.
Okay. So I can read it right after mine?
Yes,
Thank
I
you
will
very
allow
much. Good morning, council members. My
Okay.
name...
Ms. Hayward, I need you to stay very close to that microphone because you're soft-spoken. All right, thank you.
My name is Merle Hayward, and I reside in Councilman Yoshimoto's district. Versions of this well-written bill have been passed in 150 U.S. counties. It takes a long-term sustainable vision to commit to prevent the takeover of Hawai'i Island's agricultural communities. This bill would provide the basis to prevent future struggles in agriculture from GMO contamination, to hold contaminators responsible, to avoid costly farmer-to-farmer lawsuits, to set a standard for the kind of environment that nurtures people and supports the unencumbered expansion of sustainable agriculture. Examples of the future of GMO agriculture is already here for us to see if we just look and listen to the people living in the GMO zones. They are telling us that our aina is already being laid to waste. The residents of Molokai suffer from toxic chemical-laden red dust clouds blowing off the intensely farmed biotech croplands, making many of them sick. 150 residents of Kauai have filed a lawsuit against biotech Pioneer Hybrid because of acute and chronic exposure to fugitive dust from their fields. The Waimea Times on Kauai reported in 2012 that a diver found dead reefs offshore of a biotech field. Kauai's biologists for DLNR reported that an estimated 52,000 sea urchins died in 2012 and pointed to GMO BT insecticidal crops and toxic agricultural chemicals in fields along the coast as a contributing factor, saying that BT engineered into the crop is meant to kill, citing aquatic insect deaths in the Midwest attributed to GMO corn. So knowing the human and environmental costs of toxic GMO agriculture, please do not allow Hawai'i Island to become a GMO dust bowl or a GMO dead zone. Put up a stop sign that says, no GMOs in this garden. Thank you.
Ms. Hayward, you're also going to read Mr., well, I don't know if it's a man, Chris Kobayashi's testimony too. Please go ahead.
Okay. Chris Kobayashi is a taro farmer from Hanalei, Kauai. Aloha, Hawai'i Island Council members. Although I live in Kauai, I would like to express my strong support for Bill 79 banning GMOs on Hawai'i Island. On Kauai, aka the Garden Island, I believe we have the most experimental GMO crops in the world. On the west side, we have numerous unpublicized cases of various cancers, respiratory issues, and fertility and miscarriages. When you personally hear these people's stories, it really tears you apart to think that our county, our state agencies like the DOA and DOH continue to cover up for these GMO companies and allow them to continue to poison our land, our water, our air, our resources, our people, our future. When they are done, they will leave like the plantations before. Recent pesticide cleanup in Kilauea from long ago plantation days, they transferred this poisonous soil to another community, Keikaha. It should be in no one's back or front yard. And who will have to face the consequences of serious health issues, contaminated soils and waters, remediation before any edible crops are allowed to be planted? How in the world do these GMOs contribute to a 2050 sustainable state? Your county is at the forefront of protecting your people and resources by banning GMO coffee and GMO taro. Please continue to stand up in leading the state in banning GMOs. Mahalo nui.
Thank you, Ms. Hayward. Appreciate that. Dr. Miyasaka?
Thank you. My name is Dr. Susan Miyasaka.
Get close to your microphone, please.
Closer. All right. Thank you, County Council members. My name is Dr. Susan Miyasaka. I'm an agronomist with the University of Hawaii, and I thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony today against Bill 79. I guess I'm going to be the first one. I am providing testimony to you as a private individual and not as a representative of my college at the University of Hawaii. My testimony is not biased by financial considerations because I have never received research monies from the seed companies. County Council Bill 79 proposes to prohibit new introductions of genetically modified organisms, supposedly to protect our agricultural heritage, our natural environment, and our public health. This bill only discusses the potential negative impacts of genetically modified organisms and none of its potential benefits. Those of us who live on the Big Island should be well aware that agricultural biotechnology has saved the papaya industry on this island, that genetic engineering of virus resistance to the papaya ring spot virus has saved the papaya industry on this island. I strongly encourage you to educate yourself further about potential benefits of genetic engineered crops. And I only have time today to investigate and talk about one of the potential claims of this bill, which is that genetically modified crops harm public health and food safety. As a scientist, I went and did a literature review, and I found no credible evidence that genetically engineered crops that have been approved by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the Food and Drug Agency, and the Environmental Protection Agency have resulted in any food illnesses or health problems. And again, this is my opinion as a scientist. I realize that I could be wrong, but when a whole group of scientists agree on an official position, then I think it is a lot less likely that they will be wrong. The official position of the American Dietetics Association is that agricultural biotechnology can improve the quality, safety, and nutritional value of foods for human consumption. Also, in a recent Time magazine, Dr. Mehmet Oz stated that the American food supply is abundant, nutritionally sound, affordable. He says that this is the diet for the 99% of us. The diet for the 1% of organic elite diets is not worth it. He said, save your money. And I've attached that article for you to read. The American food supply in the United States...
Excuse me, please summarize. You're at your 3 minutes.
All right. The American food supply in the United States has about 9% of crops made from corn, soybeans, and canola, and they are all genetically engineered. We have all eaten them. I feel that I'm healthy, and I am against this bill, and it's based on scientific facts. I would like to remind everyone that they're allowed to have their own opinions, but they're not allowed to have their own facts.
Thank you, Doctor.
God bless you.
We're going back to Ka'u. Ka'u, I think you still have 2 testifiers.
Yes, Madam Chair, I have 2.
Go ahead.
The first of the last 2 testifier is Morgen Otter.
Hello, my name is Morgen Otter. I am 13 years old and I am a 7th grader at Kauai High in Pahala Elementary. On several occasions, I have found genetically modified foods taste different and some animals do not want to eat them. I know that it is a better growing crop and is better for the economy, but what about health? Are we sure it is safe to eat constantly? Will it eventually take a toll on our health? I know the upside to the effects of genetically modified food products, but is that all? Drought-resistant crops are good, but imagine the chemicals they use to make it. The chemicals go into our land and poison our ecosystem. Where is the choice? Where are the labels? Do you not see the problem here? And if you do not, here is something to think about. Did you know that Hawaii is the state known for the most threatened, endangered, and extinct birds? What effect do the chemicals have on the birds that we have here? What about our native plant life? We tear down forests to put in crops. When those crops are no longer needed, our native plants cannot grow there anymore because the chemical in the plants after they die. Not even our normal crops can grow there after the land has been poisoned. So in the long run, we are killing our land and ourselves.
Our last testifier. Madam Chair, you want me to continue?
Yes, please.
Our last testifier is Marie J. Burns, who's representing herself, and she's in support of Bill 79.
Hello, I want to thank you, Margaret Wiley, for your for this bill. This reminds me of in 2007 when I was testifying against for the bill opposing that, on the GMO taro and the coffee. And so what I would like to do is reiterate what I had brought to the table that day was that I had done a random survey where I called up and it was based on the papaya industry. And so what I did was I called it's the economics of the papaya. So what I did was a survey on the organic papaya versus the non-organic papaya. So I called up 12 different stores, 8 grocery stores, and 4 health food stores to see what is the price of the organic papaya versus the GMO papaya. So, there was 6 grocery stores, like superstores like KTA or whatever, Safeway, all that. And then I used the farmers markets. So basically what it came down to was the price of the organic papaya is running from $1.59 a pound to $1.70 or $2.29 a pound. Is what people are paying for an organic papaya versus at the superstores and at the farmers markets, you can get the non-organic GMO papaya for somewhere between $3 for $1 or 59 cents a pound or whatever. So economically, actually, the organic papaya is economically, just financially, is better for our economy. However, in the process, I learned a lot. It was really interesting, the information I received from the people in the stores who buy the papayas. And so in the organic food stores, the health food stores, when I would call them, their response to the papaya, the organic papaya, one of the things they need to do when they buy the papayas is make sure that the papaya is organic. So, at health food stores, people come in and they'll be trying to sell papayas. And one of the ways that they're able to tell whether it's an organic papaya or a non-organic papaya, and I'm just reiterating what people had told me, the people who were buying it, was that the genetically modified ring spot virus GMO specialty actually, in all actuality, the organic papaya is more resistant. So if people come in and they have a papaya that shows any signs of the ring spot virus, then they know that that's a GMO papaya. So contrary to what our agronomist specialist just had said, in all actuality,
Please summarize.
What it came down to was that the genetically modified papaya, it didn't really come through. So, I know we talk about all the health effects and all that, so I guess I'm just going to testify on the economical side of the fact that organics are not only better for us and better for our land and protects our resources. In all actuality, it's worth it more financially. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. I've got Mr. Moniz and I've got Mary Ellen DeVincent. Please come forward. I need to remind people in the Hilo audience that they need to feed their parking meters periodically, and also don't park in the employee parking lot because you will be ticketed. So if you have to feed your meter, you might want to think about that before we get back to Hilo. All right, and so now we are going to Kona. We have at least 2 more testifiers in Kona. Scott, please go ahead.
Okay, next testifier is Michelle Tomas in support of Bill 79. Go ahead.
Aloha, thank you for the opportunity given us where we can weigh in on something that's going to affect the whole island. First off, I'd like to say the Hawaiian Islands are being used as testing grounds, and frankly, myself and my children aren't guinea pigs, and I don't agree with that. And I'd also like to just add it on a personal note. My father, growing up, whenever he did in the 40s, 50s, back then they had commercials saying smoking was healthy and good for you, so I tend to not trust companies that have something that's in it for them. Testing Agent Orange. The whole group of scientists thought that testing Agent Orange was acceptable on humans. Not so. So I don't tend to trust scientists either. Council members, you guys have an opportunity to control who and what can affect our health and our future on this island. And I'd like you guys to take that opportunity to support Bill 79. Biotech companies are going and testing here because we're letting them. This is our opportunity to tell them no. And I encourage all council members to support Bill 79. Thank you.
The next testifier, we have Stophe Prada in support of Bill 79.
Good morning, council members. I'm Stophe Prada, owner and principal broker of Coast Properties in Kona. I'm in support of Bill 79. I'd like to compliment Councilwoman Willie on a very well-constructed bill, almost Jeffersonian in its legal construction. I particularly appreciate the legal nexus to the U.S. Constitution and the Hawaii Constitution. This is important because, as we know, our FDA at the federal level has failed to provide any bill or requirements for GMO labeling, even against the recommendations of their own scientists have approved GMOs for release into our environment. At the state level, our legislature recently refused to pass a GMO labeling bill, saying it would be too disruptive to the economy, although the same legislature was very quick to pass a bottling bill requiring manufacturers from all over the world to put on their labels about the Hawaii 5-cent redemption. So it's very contradictory. It all falls to you here at the county level. I'm not here to speak about the evils of GMO, which are self-evident around the world. I'm speaking in support of this bill. It is far-reaching, although, as some testifiers have noted, may not be far-reaching enough, but it's a great start. Thank you very much. Aloha.
Thank you, Kona. Scott, do you have any other testifiers that have come in?
Yes, I do. We have a total of 12 today, and we're on number 7.
All right, so hold on. We're going to keep going around. I'm going to call a 5-minute, maybe 7-minute break. Let us do what we need to do, okay? So we're in recess for just a few minutes.